So when you start kids into coding much earlier, it builds their muscle of problem solving. It gives them the thought process of, if I do A, I'm going to get to B, and from B, I can have a path to C or a path to D. It puts them in that way of thinking, and that's what the technical industry currently is looking for. You don't find a lot of people like that compared to the number of jobs that you have.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tech Talk Tuesday. I'm Saadia Khilji, co-founder of codeschool.pk. I am very excited to have Saadia Khilji with us today. She is a data integration expert, an advocate for gender and minorities in tech, and as a parent is quite passionate about parents in countries like Pakistan starting coding very early for their kids. And so, Saadia, welcome to Tech Talk Tuesday. And why don't you introduce yourself?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Sadaf, it's such a pleasure to be with you and talk to people back home. I'm Saadia Khilji, and I'm currently living in United States, Connecticut. Here, I'm working as the head of data integrations delivery in MassMutual. It is a financial services company that provides retirement services, investment, portfolio, and insurance services to a lot of people in US. We are based in Massachusetts. Majority of my career has been in IT organizations, in financial services firms, where my team and I have been building solutions or technology solutions for these Fortune 100 companies. So that's my intro.
Great, thanks so much. And so, you know, some of our students are as young as 6 years old. And so how would you tell them what it is that you do?
Let's take a step back and think about computers really don't talk in our language. So we need to talk to them in another language. What that truly means, you need to program or code something so that the computer or the system can understand the action you need from it. So let me use some very real examples of the kind of solutions that I've built for these financial services companies. All kids know YouTube. YouTube definitely is a big name in tech industry, but when you look into a YouTube screen and we're watching a video, you see that red bar going under it. Well, that is a technology known as streaming. And my team provides streaming solutions. Of course, I don't work for YouTube, but there's streaming solutions outside of YouTube as well, which is an awesome technology to put your hands in. Another example, these days it's COVID. So I'm pretty sure on screen you see all the time, these many people have caught COVID-19. These many people are expected to get COVID-19. That's a graph. That's what it looks like. That is all based on algorithms. And my teams and in my previous companies, I have been involved in taking these algorithms and bringing them in forefront for people to use. So basically, I've been working on solving problems and making life easier for people, basically. That's what we do.
So let's look backward. How did you start your journey into tech?
My tech journey started when I did my undergrad in computer science from LUMS. And that's when I started coding, and that's when I first learned to code. But that was a different time. I graduated in 2001. Now it's different. And you need to start coding and start your tech journey sooner because the market is really vast and the need is really high. I hire a lot of tech talent. That's what I've been doing for the past few years, bringing in people. And I know there's a crunch of tech talent. You don't find good people. You don't find good developers. So the sooner you start, the better it is. So my journey was late. I recommend people start sooner. My daughter is actually 9, and I have already gotten her into coding so that she can become familiar with what it is like.
So you've mentioned a crunch or a gap in the market, and I've heard, you know, across the globe, across industries about this dearth of talent, despite tens of thousands of graduates looking for jobs. And so where do you think is the gap, and How do you think that starting early, like you've done with your daughter, could actually help bridge that gap?
I have faced that scarcity of talent quite a bit because there are more jobs than there are people. What that means is you really have to fish for talent. You have to find people. So the market turns is two ways, right? Either you have more people and less jobs, or you have more jobs and less people. I think in technology industry, it's the latter. There are more jobs and less people. Um, and the reason being is because people, it requires people who are problem solvers, who like to solve problems, who are critical thinkers, who think that way. Just because you started coding at a later age and you're doing some development doesn't make you a really good critical thinker or somebody who can solve a problem. Kids, on the other hand, are very curious. So when you start kids into coding much earlier, it builds their muscle of problem solving. It gives them the thought process of, if I do A, I'm going to get to B, and from B, I can have a path to C or a path to D. It puts them in that way of thinking, and that's what the technical industry currently is looking for. You don't find a lot of people like that compared to the number of jobs that you have.
Since it's so important for children to start coding early for these 21st century skills and for this mindset that's so critical, what would you, want to tell parents who face this barrier and perhaps don't understand what this is, why it's useful, especially if their kids don't really want to be in the tech industry?
An example of somebody who can really break that barrier, because I did my undergrad in software engineering. I did my master's in management information systems. And when I started my career, I started in a tech company for 2 years, but I have shifted to a financial services company. And that's where majority of my career has been. I have been in Connecticut, and Connecticut is the insurance hub for United States. I've realized that regardless of what industry you are in, you could be in technology. You could be in health industry. That's where technology can make a difference. Think about it. There are robots being built for surgery. Who's doing that? Doctors are not doing that. You can be an insurance company the way I have been, and we're building these investment portfolios and solutions and integrations for our customers. That's another one. So you can be in any industry. There are so many companies out there on trucking industry. IT technology is growing in the trucking industry. Retail. Think about all these big shopping areas. I know till 5-10 years ago, we couldn't even do online shopping for these major stores in Pakistan. And now we can. I order and boom, what? I get delivered the clothes in like 10 days. So regardless of which industry, there is a need for technical people. And I think that's what people need to understand, that it's not just the Apples and the Amazons. Amazon is actually retail, but it's not just the Apple and the Microsoft. There are other companies out there where your child could have a career, and parents need to understand that. It gives them such a foundation that regardless of what country they are in, they will have a career. They will be able to make a difference and do something. It doesn't see boundaries, basically, Sadaf. You know, and within technology as well. One of the things I want to also talk about, the misconceptions that I've heard. Oh, when you're in IT industry, all you do is code. I think that's also a misconception. There are so many careers within IT industry. You start with coding, you get into that problem solving mode, and sometime later, I've seen a lot of people say, I don't want to code. I want to go into managing teams. I want to go into doing analysis. I want to go into analyzing data. And a lot of that doesn't need coding, but it gives them a very solid career path in which people have made a difference and grown in their career. And these are very highly paid jobs. So I think in Pakistan, parents need to really understand that it's going to groom their child for a better future.
So we've been looking backward, looking at your journey into tech and where you are today. And now let's look forward. So what do you think are the big problems facing the industry today?
It's talent. There are the solutions. So I'm going to provide a perspective here. If you go and check the list of millionaires or billionaires of the world, 10 years ago, they were very different compared to the millionaires and billionaires you see right now. Why? Because today, technology dominates the world. That's what it is. You know, how when we were growing up, we said, oh, either go to an engineering school or become a doctor. The world is changing. So what's happening, the pace with which it is changing is faster than the pace in which we are bringing up talent. And that's not just a problem, I would say, in Pakistan. Within US as well, I think that is a problem. Because when I'm going out and hiring, I don't see a lot of girls. And that's another problem, right? I think girls are not getting into that coding as well. So just think about when iPhone came in 2007 to now, how much has changed, how the world scenario has changed, how the retail market has changed. Now the next stage is how the field of medicine is going to change, how robotic surgery and robots are going to come in, and that's happening. It's not far away, it's happening. Think about driverless cars. That's coming. All this is going to require people who have that mindset and who can go in. So there's such a need that if you start now, you start coding, you start thinking about the importance of technology, 10 years down the line, you would be ready as a child to go into the right space and become part of this industry. Otherwise, you'll be left behind. So technology is not stopping. It's time for us to catch up with it.
Yeah, scary stuff, particularly for countries like Pakistan that don't have coding inculcated into their national curriculum, especially in the early years. What would you like to say to parents of children who have very different interests to tech, perhaps somebody who's very artistic or very creative?
If you're a very creative kid, somebody who likes art, somebody who likes to draw, people think, oh, this person is never going to be a software engineer. And I think that is a misconception too, because coding not only helps with problem solving, it brings that creativity in a kid. If you don't pigeonhole your child, this is the only thing this kid is going to do, right? If you pull your kid into coding, you'll be surprised how it opens endless possibilities. And you will find about the skills of your child that you probably didn't earlier.
I was looking at your work in advocacy and diversity, and would you want to make any comments on gender and tech?
I've been big in that space because I'm very, very vocal about it, that women in technology need to grow. They need to find a space for themselves. I think that's still a little bit of an issue right now, that when you get into a room of people, you are, I feel that still, I'm probably one of the few women in the room most of the time. I help women and I coach them in the space that you are really good at what you bring to the table. And it's not just only coding. You can manage teams. You can do analysis. You can be consultant in any space. And IT needs all that talent. And the best part about this is when you are in IT, you really don't need to be in the office space. You could find a job, which could be remote, and that could also work. So women in technology have a huge, there's a gap right now. And the more we think about it and keep an open mind and say to our daughters, yes, be in this space, I think it's a very good field for women. They still yet are not in that stage. They get intimidated by it. But I think the way to not get intimidated by it is just to become fearless. Try it out. What is the worst that's going to happen? You may not like it. So I think that's why it becomes even important to try it out when you're younger.
What advice would you have for our viewers today?
Actually, I want to give an advice to parents. First of all, let me start with parents. That do not, as I said before, do not pigeonhole that, okay, my boy is the one who's going to do coding because it's a very much of a guy's field. That is not the case. Your daughter could be better in coding than your son, and that's okay. And even if she's not as good as coding compared to your son, that is also okay. The what I really want to see that if you start getting into technology sooner, if you start coding, the muscle that it builds around problem solving, critical thinking, it goes a long way. And it's really going to help your kid be more creative and start to be somebody who can get into any space and solve a problem. For women in particular, especially those women who are either getting into technology or in that space, I always give an advice that do not get into imposter syndrome. That is one of my biggest things. And what that really means is never start feeling I'm not good enough. I cannot do this because this person codes better than me, or this person, that is totally useless. People have their own strengths. And if you get into that whole, oh, I'm not as good, you're never going to grow to be who you are. The best part about the field of technology and IT, as I said before, is there are so many careers there. Developer is just one piece of the career, but there are other careers out there. If you explore, there are more possibilities. So keep an open mind. Just do not say, oh, I'm not going to do this because this is the only way I could go in there. Start coding, use it as a muscle, try to understand what problem solving is like, and get interested in technology so that you can be one of the problem solvers. That's it. That's what we do. That's what technology does.
Thank you so much for your time, Saadia. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Sada. Wish you all the best for what you're doing. You're doing really great work, and just was happy to be part of it.